Hi everyone, welcome to Love and Ledger, where love meets money. Long time no see, Happy New Year. It's been a long time since we've been here.
Definitely a long time we've been here. I'm sure a lot of people are wondering why we've not posted in a while. We had some technical issues we needed to sort out, but yeah, we're glad to be back.
Glad to be here, yes. So today we're going to be talking about love, when love becomes case file. Yeah. Each time we bring up, or each time we bring an episode here, we just want you to know it's from real life experiences, things we've seen over time. This particular episode is very dear to my heart because I feel like a lot of people are going through stuffs like this and probably would go through something like this. At some point in time there.
So if you're new to this channel, I think this is the time you should hit the subscribe button. For us, we intend to drop a new episode every week.
Yeah.
And the goal is to kind of grow together, right?
So like, share, comment. We'll try as much as possible to reply all comments. Every time you like or share, you're helping us grow.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's dive into the business of the day.
So when love becomes a case file, a lot of time it's been very common to see that there's one spouse who is doing all the work in terms of, they're putting their documents together. It's like they're preparing from the very beginning for the time when they leave. Basically, they know from the beginning of that relationship that it's going to end up in a separation or a divorce. In fact, sometimes I feel like it's not like it's intentional that they know that it's going to end in a separation, but I feel like it's very calculated. So they're putting all their documents together, they are making very calculated decisions, and they're just doing everything.
Yeah. And it doesn't really happen all of a sudden, right? At times, it's possible that when, those couples started out, they probably started out on a clean note, there was contribution from both parties and everyone was kind of fully involved in making the relationship work. But at some point, something happened that made either of the couple to start behaving in that way. It could be they were triggered, maybe they saw a red flag, something that doesn't really add up, or they begin to note or sense some sort of selfishness from from their partner. Yeah. And that for them is more like, this is a time to start doing this. But regardless of what the issue is or the reason why they're going that route, I think it's something to watch out for. Because, it's better to speak out. Like if you feel your spouse is doing something that doesn't make sense, it's better to speak out about it, see if you can, solve those issues as opposed to just preparing for an exit.
Yeah. I think the major thing here, or what we're trying to pass across is, love is not enough, and we've said this over and over again. Love is not enough. No, love is never enough. You need to stand up and look out for yourself. As much as we look at it that, marriage or relationship is a union between two people, at the same time, each one of those people individually need to take care of themselves. And so when one person is preparing for their exit, you don't just sit there and be the loving partner who is just taking everything in and accepting everything. So, some of the red flags that a lot of people that I have seen is, one particular spouse is saying he wants all the assets in his name, or all the assets are in his mother's name, or the assets are in his sister's name. And the good thing about Canada is, like, when you have a principal residence, you can't sell your principal residence without your spouse's consent. But unfortunately, if it is an investment, you probably can sell if it's just in your name. I've seen situations where the other partner is shut out of the investment, so it's now like, one spouse has everything.
Yeah, which is kind of bizarre. So yeah, I think I was dealing with someone not long ago, and she kind of opened her heart to me and told me something she experienced, right? Similar to in lines of what you just talked about, whereby they have multiple properties, but then just because, the way it works, in order to qualify for, like, to buy, your debt ratio really matters. So what the spouse told the other person, I'm not gonna really spell out if it's a male or the female, right? Just to protect the person's privacy. What the spouse told his partner, whatever, is that, you know what, you already have this number of properties in your name. Why not we do this in my mother's name? Why would we do this in my sister's name, right? Now, it's okay to do that if you protect yourself properly. And how do you protect yourself properly? Legally. There should be a legal document showing that, yes, despite the fact that this property is in this person's name, this person has this amount of stake in it, right? So down the line, if something goes wrong, you are protected.
And another thing I want us to also mention is that at the end of the day, even when you finally get divorced, like, and you're doing all this paperwork, yes, like, there's a point where, like, the assets are divided into two and all that, but majority of these conversations we are having is before you get to that point, before you get to the point where, like, it's a divorce and you're sharing assets and all these things. Don't be at alert, basically. Be at alert, like, look at even small things, as much as, like, know how much your mortgage costs. If it is rent, know how much your rent costs. Know what your utilities are. Have an idea of, like, what's happening, like, in your life, your finances, basically. And don't just sit here. Don't just sit there. Love is never, even, we've had this conversation before, even, like, social media accounts, where, like, people have acquired, like, millions of followers and everything. Like, what are you doing in preparation for when the other person leaves? Because in most cases, that partner that wants to leave, they are very calculative and they are doing all they can.
They probably are the one who have access to the account, right? They can easily change the login. They can change everything about the settings, claim the account is all theirs, right?
Most of the time, they are the ones insisting, they are the ones insisting that this has to be in my name. They are the ones insisting. Let's look at some of the red flags that I kind of put down. One spouse is insisting that assets, debt, or plans remain solely in their name. Resistance to transparency framed as trust issues. The moment you start to have a conversation, okay, let's make this, like, don't you trust me? Like, a lot of people are narcissists, and it's more like the moment you bring something up, it becomes like, oh, you don't trust me, or you don't trust me, or, like, what do you think? Do you think we're ever going to separate? Or, like, have you been planning this all along? That's not what I mean. Like, they're turning it. And this is not only a female thing or a male thing. It's not gender specific. It's like anybody can be victims and anybody can be, the perpetrator of this act or whatever. So another thing is a pattern of collecting screenshots or narratives during conflict. So again, they are taking evidence.
Okay. I'm smiling because I just remembered something. So the evidence taken thing. Okay. Now let's backtrack a little. Now we've been talking about red flags, right? We've been talking about, what's the perpetrator of, who wants to gain the best out of that relationship, what they kind of put into play. I think if we're to backtrack a little, let's look at the flip side of it. Yeah. And by the flip side, I'm talking about, what if there's a need to take custody of maybe the kids? What if there's a need to, appear to be the victim before the court, right? That's where people begin to take evidences, like you said. I recall there was a situation, I think you're the one who gave me the gist, whereby, the lady is naturally not violent. Yeah. The husband is actually the one that is violent. But then because he was calculative, he went to the point whereby he triggered her, and then he took a video, right? Yeah. And then when the cops came over, I showed them the video, and then they sent the lady out, right? So one have to be...
I think at the end of the day, I say this all the time, like, if you are the victim, you need to be smart. And being smart means that you're not just reacting anyhow. You're not the one that, at the end of the day, when the police comes, you're not the one they're taking out just because you were irrational or, like, you did something crazy. You shouldn't be the one that will look like the other, the bad one at the end of the day. So as much as that other person is taking evidence, you should sit down and take evidence too. So it's not the time. again, relationships, like love, like it's amazing. It's amazing when it's good, when it's going well. And none of us is praying for separation, or we're not praying for divorce. We're not praying that things go south. But at the same time, we're like, protect yourself so that you don't end up being the victim. Right. Every time. Protect yourself. I think that's what this is all about. Yeah. So another thing I put down is protect yourself without becoming defensive. Emotional protection, stop over explaining. Journal for clarity rather than prove and honor institution. So, honor your intuition. Like, sometimes you have it, you can sense it in your guts, like what's going on. So don't dismiss that. Financial protection, understand also finances. Keep copies of documents and know your credit standing. Like it's not like you're the one, you bought the car in your name, you have all the debts in your name, your credit is ruined, the other person's credit is fine. So when we go separate ways, it's like, I have intact credit, but your credit is nothing to write home about.
Now that you mentioned it, there's something to also kind of watch out for as partners, right, or as couples, right? It doesn't make sense that, to your point, one person is the one who has all the debt in their name, or and then maybe it's just one person who is paying all the bills, or the money comes out from the account, and I've seen a situation whereby it was more like the guy was supposed to be the one paying the property taxes based on the agreement they had, and the guy didn't pay jack, right? However, the mortgage is in the lady's name, and when everything became blown up, right, the lady's credit became destroyed, right? It was destroyed because the bank wasn't going to have it, right? They had to, the CD reported to the bank, and then somehow they had to kind of figure out how to pay, the bank paid off the property taxes on her behalf, but then that got added to her mortgage, right? So that's crazy, because in the real sense, how come we don't know the guy wasn't paying the property tax?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people can't separate, like it's like you trust this person so much, but you're not holding them accountable. So you're not even asking questions, like you super trust them. And trust me, like, see, maybe there's so many of us that are in that that may find ourselves in that situation because like we trust our spouses so much. So like, I trust you, like I don't have to ask you or like follow up on certain things. But just like we said, if your intuition tells you something is wrong, then something is probably wrong. And again, like, we talk about this all the time, like it didn't just start today. You would have been seeing some sort of signs. So like, you're dismissing the signs. At the same time, you are not holding them accountable. You are not taking steps to protect yourself. At the end of the day, you would be the one that will get burned. You're the one that will be left with the debt. You're the one that will even be taken by surprise because they know this relationship is already ended. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, they were prepared all the while. Remote, like, oh, this is the end game for them, right?
People are married 10 years and one spouse has left that relationship 5 years ago. You're just holding on to carcass. Like, you're basically just holding on to empty shell. And maybe probably just the mindset that you're married or you're in a relationship. So I guess the earlier you look at yourself and be like, you know what, we're done, or like it looks like we're done, and let's all start to protect ourselves, I think the better.
Okay. So in closing, I think the main thing here is not to be a fool, not to be too trusting.
Love is not enough.
Exactly. If you suspect something, it makes sense to ask. It makes sense to double check, right? It's better to be wrong than to, it's better to be wrong when you're suspicious than to be wrong because you suspected but you took no action.
If you've enjoyed this episode, like, share, comment. Don't forget to subscribe. Thank you so much and see you next time.
See you next time.